didn't crawl. Walk up, and the snake said, "Eat of the fruit of knowledge." Now, man is curious. It was a woman named Eve. That's where evil came from. So she ate of the fruit. She ate the fruit because she wanted to know. And God kicked them out, shut the gates forever. Is this God? And then they also tell you, He loves you. Then He kicks them out. And then, of course, they tell you that He never does anything wrong. Well, heaven was a beautiful place until a couple of angels felt they'd like God's job. So He kicked them out. They're called the fallen angels. You read your Bible, it says, "Thou shalt not kill." It doesn't say Wednesdays and Thursdays you can kill. It says, "Thou shalt not kill." It says, "Love thine enemy." When a man strikes you, turn the other cheek. A rich man said to Jesus, "Can I enter the kingdom of heaven?" He said, "The same chance a camel has going to the eye of a needle." So the rich man said, "What do you want me to do? Give all your money, superfluous to your needs, to the poor." He said, "No thanks." So the church, Jesus, chased the money changers out of the temple. Now they're all back in there. They run the whole show. I'm sorry about that. And we really need money. Well, Roxanne pointed out that if you came to an island with $1 million of gold and there was no water, no fish, nothing to eat, you have nothing. Money never meant anything. But they devised that as a control device. I say, "I want you to paint my roof." He said, "How much will you give me?" I said, $5. $10. Let me think about it. $15. He paints my roof. Money is a control device. If you paid your help $3,000 a week, you wouldn't see them Monday morning. They take their family out on a cruise. So they pay people minimum wage. You have to go back to work Monday to pay the rent and the food. There's no love in that. Do you understand? They use words like love, peace, God bless everybody. In our country, America, Obama always closes all presidents. God bless America. Who the hell are you to tell God who to bless? So you live in a world that's extremely stupid, particularly army men. They're out there to defend the country. And the U.S. gave people in Hawaii radar, everything. And 2 young Americans detected enemy planes coming, the Japanese planes. And they told the captain, he said, "They're probably our planes." So we paid no attention to it. Now that's true in all areas. You got a super defense system, cameras all over the place, and believe me or not, the Arabs hijacked airplanes and flew them into the Twin Towers. Where's your defense? Where's your security? Well, I tell you today, at airports we got security. You come with a suitcase, they x-ray it. They x-ray you. But this is something I wouldn't do. I can design clothing that gives out nerve gas that can't be detected by x-rays. Whatever a human being can think of, another human can think of another system out of that. There's no security. The world must learn to live together and work together. And instead of a Pentagon in Washington of military people, we have a Pentagon of sociologists, social scientists who know how to bridge the difference between nations. Soldiers are killing machines. Of course, they don't know any better. They're brought up to be patriotic. When you fly over a city, you press a button and burn everybody in that city. Guy gets 3 medals, and everybody pats him on the back. That's why they do it. Even though they go to church on Sunday. They don't understand what they're reading. They don't understand their religion. Now, if some church gets $3 million, they put a big chandelier in and build a new church. If they understood the teachings of Christ, they'd give all surplus money to the undeveloped churches, the poor, not a chandelier. So you've got ministers that are proud of their church. Pride is one of the 7 deadly sins. Unfortunately, most religions sold out to the money system. Since Jesus chased the money changers out of the temple, if you don't understand me, when I say sold out, the Catholic Church in my neighborhood used to bless soldiers and throw holy water on war tanks. The Catholics in Italy were blessing their war tanks. How can you love a country? How can you be devoted to God and do these things? These people are living contradictions. If you still don't understand me, a Catholic walked into my office once and he says, I've come to find out what the Venus Project is about. I says, I wouldn't wear that cross if I were you. He said, why? He says, for God so loveth the world, he gave his only begotten Son. The witnesses in the Bible say Jesus was crucified, he arose and ascended into heaven. Where's the sacrifice? Think about it. No sacrifice. If you kill someone and he arises, goes back into heaven, there's no sacrifice. Besides, God can snap his finger and make all the Jesus he wants. The things that people believe are unbelievable. They are innocent, they don't know, because your schools do not teach you how to think. They teach you how to be a cog in the wheel, a chemist, a lawyer, a structural engineer, but no generalist. If they taught you how to think, there would be no war. There'd be no abuse. And this is what we do with children. If you don't understand what I'm saying, I'll tell you the truth about my own little boy. When he was 4 years old, I used to read to him in bed. I never taught him to read. And then I'd read about things kids like, you know, dinosaurs, things like that. And then when the two dinosaurs met, I got out. I closed the book. He said, Daddy, what happened when the two dinosaurs? I said, look, if you learn to read, you can find out for yourself. It's really best not to teach your kids anything until they say, what keeps the moon up there? Then you go into it. Daddy, what makes a clock work? My kid said to me, Daddy, what makes an airplane fly? Is it the propeller? I said, if you didn't have a motor turning that propeller, it wouldn't move. Is it the motor? If you don't put fuel in that motor, it wouldn't turn. Is it the fuel? If you don't have oxygen, the fuel wouldn't burn. Well, what is it? It's not one thing, it's many interacting variables. When they say to you, this person's bad, well, what the hell does that tell you? Nothing. It means that they didn't like something he did. If your mother says, you're a Catholic, you don't play with that little Lutheran girl. See, they start poisoning the well. Is it the mother's fault? No. They're not taught how to think in school. Then they give you words like, she's talented. You ever hear that? She's gifted. Like some people got some vibrations from outer space and they got wonderful ideas. The truth is, this is much harder to accept now. Human beings, this includes me, cannot think or reason. If you want to test this, ask an Eskimo if he ever dreams of walking on a palm-fringed beach. He said, what's that? It's not within his realm. You ask an American Indian, you can have anything you want. What do you want? He doesn't say a twin-engine Beechcraft. He doesn't ask for things like that, or Mercedes. He says a wigwam and a good bow and arrow. All people reflect their culture. They can never step out of their culture. Unless you lived in Germany 3 years, and in France 3 years, and in England, then you have a broader view. But when Americans usually go to France, they go to the American club, which you don't learn anything. They really don't understand. When I was 21, I tried to understand sex. I could not. So I got a job on a boat because I wanted to see what people would be like if they weren't educated. So I worked my way to Tahiti. By that time, the Chinese owned most of the stores, and there was money. So I wanted some out islands where the natives were very primitive. And I found a group of islands called Tuamotu, east of Tahiti, 1,000 miles.